It was really, really good. We're not just winning one way; we're winning in a variety of ways, and that's what it's going to take for in the postseason. So, just finding ways to win. We know obviously defensively we have to get stops in order for us to get to where we want to go. But offensively we can score with the best of them. So tonight, great case of what the defense can do.
Wesley goes down. You see it. What's going through your mind at that point?
I don't know. I was trying to figure out what he was doing. I don't know.
You just decided to step back and take the three?
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at him and he was looking at me, and I was trying to figure out what he was doing, where he was going to save, and then I just shot it.
Did you say I just wanted to see what he was doing?
Yeah,
oh, yeah, that's why I stepped back.
Humble brag.
Of course.
I don't know what happened to him. I mean all of a sudden
there,
he's
then
on
he
the
wasn't
ground.
there.
Yeah.
And when James Harden wins the MVP this year, and it'll be near unanimous, won't be unanimous. Anthony Davis will get a couple votes.
It might be unanimous.
It could be, but let's assume it won't
unanimous.
be. It'll be close to it at the very least. That will be one of the first clips shown.
Of course.
That play, because Harden doesn't have a bunch of high-flying dunks. Like, that is an all-time highlight for a guy. We mentioned the 4 best shooting guards ever, a guy who's making the case that he could become the 5th best shooting guard ever. James Harden.
He could be. I think he can move higher than Dwayne Wade if he can start winning some championships.
Sure, but I hijacked you, Jenna. Go ahead.
No, that's right. Meanwhile, the team, because of James Harden, his 25 last night, they pick up their 14th win of the season. Second time they've won 14 in a row already this season, which in and of itself is a tremendous feat.
Yep.
Nick, are the Rockets the best team in the NBA right now?
Right now, they absolutely are.
Ooh.
Right now, the Houston Rockets are the best team in the NBA.
Absolutely.
Right now, the Houston Rockets have, per Basketball Reference, the best offense in the history of the NBA.
Rating.
Offensive efficiency. And it is important to note there is not a recency bias to that stat. The rest of the top 5 is a Celtics team in the 80s, a Lakers team in the 80s, a mid-90s Bulls team, and the Warriors team from last year. So it's not just all last year's Warriors this year. Yeah. You know, it is some of the greatest teams of all time. This Rockets team has the best record in the league, not only against everyone, but the best record in the league against teams above 500. They're 26-9. This Rockets team is 10-1 against the cream of the crop in the NBA. Golden State, Cleveland, Minnesota, San Antonio. I mentioned Minnesota, San Antonio. One of those 2 teams likely second-round series. Obviously, Golden State likely third-round series, and then Cleveland the likely NBA final series if they were to get there. So I don't see a flaw in the team right now. The only criticism you can find for the Rockets is of things that haven't happened yet. How will D'Antoni do in the playoffs? How will Harden and Paul do in the playoffs? But up to this point, 75% of the way through the season, they have been the best team in the NBA.
Now, I believe this year's Warriors, are they in the top 5 on Basketball Reference?
I think they're 6. They're right. This year's Warriors are right there.
It's interesting because I was looking at that as well. Now, the ESPN John Hollinger stats actually has
slight difference.
Yeah, Golden State as the best team offensively this year in offensive efficiency.
They're historic in
Basketball
both things.
It's
because of the way you determine pace.
Yeah.
So there's a slight different methodology. But either way, we could parse it.
They're historic.
Historically great offense.
But no, they're not the best team. First of all, you don't become the best team in the league in February. You know, it's just how it is. Now, if they prove that they're the best by winning the championship, okay. But think about Golden State in 2015. When they won 67 games and were about to start this run, nobody was giving them they're the best team in the league. Having the best record means nothing. In most years, the teams, I don't know if it's most years, but many years, the team with the best record doesn't win the championship. I don't think that Miami Heat team of LeBron and D. Wade ever won more than 57 games. But they were clearly best. His 2 best records, 66 wins, 61 wins in Cleveland, they didn't even get to the finals. So the regular season doesn't matter in terms of has the best record being the best team. You have to prove it in the postseason. Because regular season, here's the thing. You're catching some teams on back-to-back nights. You're catching some teams with injuries. You're catching some teams when you're flying on a long road trip. In the playoffs is when it's a 7-game series, no back-to-back. That's when you find out who the better teams are. And I'll look at talent. Who has more talent, Golden State or Houston? Golden State. clearly. I mean, they got 2 of the top 3 players, 4 all-stars. You know, it's not even close. You look at balance. Now, Houston is a top 10 team defensively and has improved dramatically in that side of the ball, but Golden State is top 5. They're 5th best defense in the league. Right there offensively, depending on whose metric you use. So the one thing Houston has that Golden State doesn't is the best big man of the 2 teams, and that's Clint Capella. He needs to start getting some love. I could see him, if he keeps this up and they go deep in the playoffs, he could be an all-star next year. Well, and that's saying a lot in the West.
He might be most
probably
improved.
Too much in
he
the
might
West,
be most improved player in the league this year.
He's in the top 10 in field goal percentage, where he's number 1, block shots, rebounds, and there's one more stat per PER. He's 7th in PER. I mean, the dude is having a tremendous
Kevin Durant, though, says his job.
Yeah, KD needs to reevaluate.
Keep this in mind. When we first opened up this basketball season, there were 2 teams we were looking at that had to deal with chemistry. It was the Thunder with those 3 guys they were going to have to figure out a way to work together, and it was the Rockets. Well, how is Chris Paul and James Harden going to work together? They both want the ball. They both are. The Warriors, we knew, had this team in place basically from last year. Does it mean anything? Does that factor into you at all, that the team has surprised you at least, that they've had to deal with a new sort of...
And I'd even add a 3rd team that didn't deal with it well, Cleveland. After trading Kyrie.
Yeah,
Cleveland struggled for a long time. Oklahoma City struggled early. The Rockets were ready from the beginning. Go ahead.
No, I mean, look, they have surprised me because I didn't know that it would work this well with Chris Paul. I actually thought it would be better in the playoffs because Chris brings a mid-range game that they haven't had in the past few years that you're forced more to use in the playoffs than regular season. I thought they'd have their growing pains in the regular season. Obviously, I was wrong, and that has surprised me. But no, I can't say they're the best team in the league right now. I don't care what their record is.
Well, I disagree with you on how we looked at the Warriors the first year they won the title. Steph won the MVP. They were the favorites going into the playoffs. I think there were stories about one of the reasons LeBron was so upset his first year in Cleveland before they made the trades was he was watching the Warriors late night and was like, oh, my God. This team
that was after Golden State won it, though. Because I talked to LeBron right before that finals, and I went right before the 2015 finals. At the finals, I got him alone. I was like, do they remind you of the Spurs team in 2014 that just beat you guys because the way they moved the ball, shoot the 3? He chuckled. He's like, no.
They're not.
He's like, jump shooting teams, and he wasn't alone. Most of the league felt jump shooting teams don't win championships.
Fair enough. And maybe some people.
Nobody was, and even after they won it,
because of the injuries.
People were disrespected.
So just one more note on the Rockets, because the big news peg here is a 14-game winning streak. They're 2nd of the season. A little historical context. There's been 5 teams in modern NBA history. I'm going to throw out the 1947 Capitals, who also did it. 5 teams in the last 70 years in this league who have had multiple 14-game winning streaks. Here's what they did in the playoffs. The 71 Bucks did it. That was with prime young Kareem. Yeah. They won the title. The 86 Celtics did it. Some people think that's the best NBA team ever. They won the title. The 2000 Lakers did it. Peak Shaq. Coming into his prime Kobe, they won the title. The 97 Jazz, they were tied in Game 6 of the finals until Steve Kerr hit that jumper. So they came this close to winning the title. And the 07 Suns, coached, by the way, by, was it D'Antoni? No, was D'Antoni still there? D'Antoni, but that was the season. The Suns had Robert Horry, hip check Steve Nash, guys come off the bench. That team could have won the title.
If you won the West.
If you won the West, you were going to go. That was a huge moment in that when they lose Amari Stoudemire for a game due to the suspension. So the point is, it's happened 5 times in modern NBA history. 3 of the best teams ever, and they won the title. Another team that was tied in Game 6 in the waning moments, and another team that was potentially some suspensions away from winning the title. Now the Rockets have done it.
Go ahead.
Now the Rockets have done it.
That's it? You stopping
there?
The
Rockets right now are the best team in the NBA. Does not mean they will win the title, but right now they're the best team in the NBA.
There's a good chance we'll ask the question the exact same way tomorrow. Tomorrow, not even at the end of the month.
I wanted you to make that. I know there are words in your ears.
All right, we'll switch gears up a bit coming up. Where the New York Giants making a huge mistake with their draft plans.